Fast food employees of Reddit, what is your most disturbing story while working at a fast food restaurant? It sucks that people have to mess with food. I worked at KFC for 3 years. I was disgruntled, lazy, and had plenty of rude customers, but and as far as I could tell, my fellow employees never cared around like that. I spent a summer working at Arby's, a summer working at McDonald's, and a total of 5 years at a chicken wing restaurant called Wingstop. I never saw anyone FCK with the food. All 3 restaurants were much cleaner than the average homes I've been in. The places had to be spotless at closing time and spotless again between the lunch and supper rushes. At Wingstop, we would occasionally get new employees who somehow didn't know about washing hands after touching raw chicken. And as soon as one person pointed it out, every F-king employee would watch that person like a hawk to make sure they followed proper procedure. I worked at McDonald's up until about a year ago. I worked overnights a lot. And one night while we were typically cleaning our grease pit, this elderly lady walks in and, without a word, takes some of the framed photos of various animals and wildlife down from the wall and walks out of the store with them. No FCKs were given. This is maybe not the disturbing you are looking for, but I worked at a Subway in high school, and a few weeks before I started the place was robbed. The robber forced the only employee who was working, a pregnant woman in her early 20s, into the walk-in freezer and moved a huge metal prep table in front of it so she couldn't get out. Eventually another customer came into the store and figured something was up. He was able to get her out of the freezer and she was totally fine. Maybe 2 months later we were robbed again. After the store was closed, the only thing they took was a jar of money we had pooled to buy gifts for the same employee's baby shower. Poor girl. I worked at Subway for about 2 years when I was in high school. There was a lady I worked with who I will never forget. Picture this. 72-year-old woman who constantly coughs up chunks of M&M cookies onto every surface available, including subs. Her and I were chatting in the back of the store once, and while she was talking to me, a chunk of cookie flew out of her mouth and landed on my lip. I almost gagged. She also would wear the same pair of gloves for cleaning, prep, and for serving customers. It was disgusting. For some reason my boss never said anything to her about it. I guess he felt bad that she was so old and still working. Cough. Embarrassing story here. I worked for an up-and-coming toasted sandwich chain in Chicago. We used to have these stupid in-store meetings for new product rollouts, etc. We also had the biggest ass switch of a GM in history. If you came in late to these 7 to 8 AM meetings, she would make you get up in front of everyone and sing "Dance Till I'm a Little Teapot." One time our prep guy, a 40-ish-year-old Mexican man who spoke little English, had a family and worked 3 jobs to support them, came in late. He had to sing that stupid song to all of us. We were appalled. He was humiliated. He eventually got fired for being a jagoff. Everything went better than expected. I worked at a Subway restaurant for 2 weeks once when short on rent. My first day there. On a bet, I took a hit of the raw MT dew syrup. Never before in my life. And never since then. Had I wanted to die so bad. It felt like a rock hard brick of Satan's cum in my stomach. It burned everything. I was in agony for about a half hour until my co-worker had the idea to drink some milk. It worked. Kind of. I went home and couldn't sleep for a day. Don't try it. It sucks. Not extremely disturbing. But when I worked at Wendy's during high school, my manager was a cheap bastard who would regularly pull lettuce out of the garbage and rinse it off before sticking it into a salad. He would scream at whoever was chopping salad lettuce that they were wasteful, and then inspect the garbage to see if there were usable scraps. He also found a disgusting package of sweet and sour sauce under the fryers and served it in drive-thru. Also, I once blacked out while using the grill and my face landed 3 inches away from the grill top. I had a nasty bruise. But I shudder to think what could have been. MR. Crabs. While working at Pizza Hut, a black lady came in and ordered $150 worth of pizza. soda, and wings. I told her the total and then she without missing a beat asked if I remembered to apply her African American discount. I questioned her about this and she proceeded to yell at me about how she gets a federal mandated 75% off all food for being black because of slavery. The proper response is I absolutely included it. Mom. I worked at the local DQ while I was in high school. One day, a mom brings her little boy in, and he orders a cotton candy blizzard. This might possibly have been the worst blizzard flavor ever. It was somewhat like milky sugar napalm. Anyway, he starts inhaling it as soon as it's in his grubby hands, and finishes the whole thing before mom even finishes paying. 10 seconds later, I hear those famous last words. I don't feel so good. Right before I see a spectacular Technicolor projectile vomit pattern ejected right onto the glass door. Mom takes her medium cone and leaves without apologizing. Worked at a Wendy's when I was a teen. Guy who worked the grill was a self-styled vampire. Our patties were fresh, not frozen. This guy would cut open the sleeves that the beef was shipped in and then guzzle the blood that accumulated in them. Disconcerting as FCK. One time a customer saw him do it. That was a fun time. Our patties were fresh, not frozen. Nice try. Wendy's advertising. When I worked at MCD's we had to clean the shake machine every so often. And the way the machine works is it turns this liquid mixture into the soft serve or milkshake textures. So while emptying the liquid cream trough, we got to the bottom and found a baseball cap and plastic glove. I don't know why, but I am thoroughly enjoying the fact that there hasn't been a single comment about Taco Bell. I worked at Taco Bell on off for years. Never really had a bad issue except once. Our power had gone out. Summer Swipe took out a transformer. But our boss had us continue serving until food no longer held its temp. All good. Right? Wrong? As I was making a burrito supreme. I got all the way to the cold side before I noticed a centipede in the tortilla. I told my boss. But seeing that I didn't know if it came out of the beans, beef, rice, or red sauce. I couldn't toss the contaminated batch without tossing a lot of product. I was told to toss the centipede burrito and make a new one with the same ingredient sauce. TLDR. Centipede burrito. I worked at a Subway. The owner had a desk in the back, not an office. I walked back there to get some cups and caught him looking at PRN. Awkward. Not 3 minutes later he came to the front of the store and tested the softness of every loaf of bread without wearing gloves. It was during the lunch rush. I had to serve it. I worked at an Arby's in high school. We had a regular that, in addition to the swastikas tattooed on his neck and arms, would brag about having done time for molesting young girls and boys. Runner-up would be the mystery person that liked to smear tea on the bathroom walls. The racist pedo poop bandit. Sounds like a job for Scooby-Doo. I'm not in food service, but I guarded a building with a Japanese restaurant a few years ago. The place was immaculate in the dining area. The kitchen gave me nightmares. Fungus grew in the corners of counters. Grease and black tarry junk covered every surface. And then one night they tried to blow it up with the gas stove to collect insurance, almost taking me and the night maintenance guy with it. Worked at Denny's a few years back. We had an orange juice machine that would always get clogged every few weeks. We'd run a cleaner through the machine and it would work again for another few weeks. Eventually even the cleaner didn't help, so we had to call a repairman. He had to disassemble the entire machine. He found a dead rat that had been the clog the whole time. I kid you not. Over 6 months of rat filtered goodness. Yum. Worked at Wendy's when I was a teen. Had a guy with a grill spat with several pieces of grilled chicken stacked on it drop them all over the floor. He simply picked them up and put them in the holding bin to be served. My then boyfriend, now husband, was attempting to fix the frosty machine because it wasn't spinning properly. Dummy sticks his finger up in the dispenser and the thing started spinning again. Chopped at the tip of his finger. We also used to have a gentleman come in that was mentally handicapped. He would order 1-2 extra meals for his friends and then proceed to sit down and put the meals in front of empty chairs. He would then carry on a conversation, often heated, with his imaginary friends. I can't decide if imaginary friend man is tragic or awesome. Not really a food gross out story. But I had a dirtbag customer once working at McDonald's in high school. Their premium salads had just been released. And the chicken used in them was the same as the grilled chicken sandwich. It took 8 minutes to cook. And we typically didn't keep very many cooked and in the warmer because they didn't sell fast. At noon on a weekend, during a very busy rush, some fat ham beast rolls up in the drive-thru and orders 6 of these salads. When some product isn't ready, the practice is to have them pull up into a parking space and we'll run the order out when it's ready. So the guy behind her who just ordered a large Coke doesn't get trapped in the drive-thru. She refused to pull ahead and forced about 9 cars behind her to wait for between 10 and 15 minutes. Even after we explained that this is what was happening. Inconsiderate so. Reading this thread was a bad idea. I have no place to get food now and I'm going to starve to death. I delivered a pizza to a 40+ naked redneck man in an apartment complex's jacuzzi. His young son was there. At 11 PM. Not the kind of naked encounters I was promised when I took the job. My college buddy delivered pizzas in HS and during summers. He said working late at night, especially weekends, you get a lot of drunk people that can't count and accidentally overtip. A lot. Stoners that give you a hit. Not a glorious job. But it has its perks. A KFC employee I knew would jizz in the coleslaw every once in a while. Not because he was disgruntled or hadn't received enough hugs as a child. Just for funsies. He thought he was being so hilarious. And would brag to other people about it. Not surprisingly, he was fired. Hearing things like this make me wonder how many times I've ingested other men's semen through fast food over my lifetime. I have a couple. I work at Runza, which is a fast food place mainly in Nebraska. One person came through the drive-thru and we could tell they weren't having the best day. They handed us their card to pay, but it was declined. When we told her this, she started bawling. It was really awkward. Another time during the summer on our busiest day of the year, an African American lady came in and without ordering anything demanded a glass of water. Runza has a rule that it costs 10 cents if you don't order anything else just to pay for the cup. It's a stupid rule. But I had to follow it anyway. So I told her that it would be 10 cents. She then starts yelling, very loudly, about how I just gave someone else water. She then yells out, "Is it because I'm black?" I was stunned at her stupidity. Eventually my manager kicks her out for yelling at a 15-year-old. TL. DR made someone cry. I find this disturbing. You guys might question it, but here I go. I used to work in Callaway Park, amusement park, in concessions. They would tell us to make lots of burgers and lots of fries and whatever else they sold at the restaurant. Well, at the end of the day they told us to throw everything that was left over out. They wouldn't even sell it to us for cheaper in fear that we were making it for our own benefit. Which I guess could happen. Being from a third world country, this killed me. We would throw away 50-ish burgers on average and about 3 tubs of fries. And there were about 7 restaurants at the park. I mean, people out there are starving and they were just casually throwing food out. Douchebags. Worked at a Hot End now, similar to Checkers, mid-90s. They had some stores closed down in FL due to health code violations. Instead of losing money on the product, they trucked it out to other stores. I worked in upstate SC. Somewhere along the lines the truck's refrigeration quit and most of the product thawed. Manager had it loaded in the freezer to use anyway. Worked at Arby's. And while closing the store, Paris Hilton showed up in the drive-thru with her famous friends. I shit you not. I had already closed the fryer and she wanted like 5 salads with fried chicken pieces. I hated that night. Because there wasn't reason enough to hate Paris Hilton. I was new at Burger King one time and I was looking for something. Don't remember what. In the back. I turned a corner to see a guy peeing into a bucket. I thought this was odd. But I guess. When it's busy it saves time. I was young and stupid. I was about to walk away when someone called for more pickles. Said urinator took a scoop and scooped a load of pickles out of the bucket he was just urinating into. I now order burgers without pickles. I worked at a sandwich shop for a few years that sliced the meats and cheese in store. The turkey we got was vacuum sealed for freshness with copious amounts of gelatin packing, but when they were opened they smelled like the raunchiest fart you ever did smell. Not really fast food. But this happened last week at an ice cream store. Someone tried to do coning when I served him his cone. He picked it up and the ice cream fell onto his crotch. While it was that close he picked up the sweet cream and put it in his pants. Then paid for the ice cream and tipped. Quite generously might I add. Then walked out of the store. I'm trying to find a video on YouTube because two of his friends were clearly filming it. No. That was your newly developing Don't Make Rage Comics muscle. You're growing so fast. Only slightly disturbing from a health standpoint. Mostly just amusing. I was working at KFC in Honolulu. One day I was eating my lunch in the break room when I heard this clucking noise. My first thought was no way. We don't make the chicken that fresh. I turned around and there I see a rooster strutting through the room clucking. It turned out the rooster was one of the Filipino employees fighting cock. I guess covering the chicken's head didn't keep it as still and quiet as he'd thought. Guy takes fighting chicken to KFC. And that's what'll happen to you if you lose. Not really a story. But uncooked Arby's roast beef looks like a plastic bag full of pink jello. I once ate at Arby's. NSFL. Not too disturbing. But definitely awkward. Two guys came into the McDonald's while I was at the cash register. They seemed to be co-workers since they both were wearing the same working uniforms. They proceeded to order their meals. But asked for a separate bill. So I did. But it turned out that one of them didn't have enough money. So the other guy just went ahead and paid for it and said to his coworker, "Oh, that's okay. You can just blow me in the car afterwards." And winked. His friend didn't seem to appreciate the joke though. And smiled poorly at me in order to kinda save the situation. But it resulted quite an awkward situation. I worked at KFC. One day one of my acrylic nails fell off into the chip fryer. I told my manager in a panic. But she said, "Oh, it probably just melted already. Don't worry about it." I quit a little while after that. And certainly never ate KFC again. As someone who works in a non-fast food restaurant, I think acrylic nails and nail polish, which will chip into food no matter how careful you think you are, in general are disgusting, and I would insist that anyone wearing them have gloves on at all times. When I was cleaning the bathroom right before the end of my shift at McDonald's and everything was going good until I went to wipe down the urinals. Well, turns out someone had managed to drop a half-eaten cheeseburger into the urinal. Now how this happened I will never know, but my best guess is the guy was eating the cheeseburger while pissing and dropped it, which is extremely gross because who pisses where they eat? Anyways, I left the cheeseburger there and clocked out. There was no way I was touching a piss-soaked burger, and it put me off cheeseburgers for a good year. TL. I think you mean, who eats where they piss? Full stop. My most disturbing story is that I am treated as if I am completely replaceable as a human being. Even though I work hard and make a difference at my place of employment, I still can't afford basic healthcare. I work too hard to get government assistance. Yet I don't work in an industry with any respect for its workers. From either the customers or the owners of the business. Even though I provide people with affordable and quick meals, with healthy options available, I am the lowest rung on the ladder. Food service is a valuable service to the community. But food service employees are treated like dirt. I treat food service with respect. I pay attention to quality of product and service. I pay attention to personal hygiene and proper food service guidelines. Yet I feel as if I am treated as a being with no value. I used to like it. And now I hate it. I'm going to have to trade in a faded passion for a soul-sucking job with health benefits. I'm feeling like the future is pretty hopeless at this point. Food service is a disturbing story.